Hi, hope you're all doing fine. Whenever you come across any new topic or any new subject, as humans we have this tendency to master it in as limited time as possible. And also, even though most of us try to learn things superficially, there are few who really probe into the subject and try to get the concept as quick as possible. In fact, learning anything in a very deep manner and in a very limited time is challenging. However, the good news is it can be done. Take any topic, take any subject, we can learn it very fast, we can learn it very deep in a limited time possible, as I mentioned previously. And there is actually a difference between knowing the name of something and knowing something. I hope you got it. So knowing something is very important. Name of something, it's fine. We all go through things superficially. But ultimate success depends on knowing something. And once you start applying what you know, then you start seeing success. Richard Feynman, a physicist and Nobel Prize winner, has discovered a technique which he coined as Feynman's technique, and he says applying this technique can allow you to master any subject, any topic in a deepest manner possible in limited time. So in this video, let's focus on Feynman's technique. In fact, we have applied this technique. I have applied this technique in my class where around 90 students have taken the test, have followed this technique, and we have seen almost 98 to 100% of a positive result. So what we have done is we have given them one more or less a topic which they are not familiar with, and we have asked them to follow this technique, explain them the technique, and then at the end of the test they have done extremely well. And it's not really surprising because we're all familiar with it, but maybe you're trying to overlook into this. So what is this Feynman's technique all about? So according to Feynman, as I mentioned previously, there is a difference between knowing something and knowing the name of something. And he says your learning starts, in fact, we start learning once we identify the limits or edge or boundaries of our knowledge, which is very, very important, because competence is all about identifying the deficiencies in your knowledge, and then you start learning. And most importantly, once you know the limits of your boundaries, you will start learning, relearning, and then there is a decreased chance of making mistakes, which will ultimately project you towards success when you start applying the knowledge. So the ultimate test, this is very, very important. The ultimate test of your knowledge depends on your ability to convey it to others. Quite surprising, isn't it? It means if you are, for example, assume that I am explaining you one topic. If I'm not familiar with the topic, obviously I'll be using some complex words or technical terms. I'll try to mask and I'll try to fool myself in the process and do the same to you also. On the other hand, if I know the subject very well, obviously I'll try to explain you the same in a simplified manner possible. So the ultimate test depends on your ability to convey your knowledge to others in a simplified manner, and this technique uses the same principle. So we have in fact 3 steps in Feynman's technique, and the 4th one is optional. So according to the first step, the name of the step itself is teach it to a child. So what he says is, take a blank sheet of paper, write down the heading of any topic which you want to master, and then without referring any textbook or any source or any video, what you do is try to write down what you know about the topic in as simplified language as possible, using very simple terms, no complex words, no technical terms, and you should use only simple words in such a way that even an 8-year-old kid, once he or she goes through that text, should be able to understand. So that's the challenge here. So in the first step, write down whatever you know without using complex words or jargons, and then stop. So once you're done with first step, you might have struggled a lot, because in the process of trying to write down in a simplified language, you should first really master the subject. So you might have struggled a bit, which Feynman says is a very good sign. So once you start struggling, it's a good sign that your intention is to learn still, and your intention is to fill in the gaps of your knowledge or ideas, right? So the reason why you're struggling in first step is because maybe you're not familiar with the topic, or maybe you might have forgotten the topic, or maybe you have no clarity over the concept. So identifying these edges or boundaries of your knowledge is the key, and that's where learning starts, real learning starts. It's not just about memory. Learning is not just about memory, it's about understanding concepts and applying the same so that we can see results. And second step is all about review. So once you have identified your deficiencies in knowledge, start referring any source which is standardized, and then come back. So that completes your second step. So review, you refer, that's it. And in third step, it's all about organizing and simplifying. It means since you have reviewed, you might have understood your deficiencies, and now what you have to do is again organize the story which you have written, the words which you have written, and put that in a form of a story which flows. In third step, organize and simplify. Write down the entire information which you know in the form of a story as if it is flowing smooth. So it has to be simplified again, and it has to be in such a way that any person with basic knowledge or basic understanding of vocabulary should be able to understand what you have written. So that completes the third step. By the end of the third step, you have this highly customized, highly crafted, and high yield synopsis. And the fourth step is optional, he says. So it's nothing but transmitting or explaining the same information which you have written in form of story to others in form of extempore. So what he says is, when you're trying to explain things to others, make sure that you choose a person who has no idea about the subject. For example, if you're trying to explain me about chaos surface angle, obviously since I have some idea, maybe you can just manage when you're explaining me. But that wouldn't really test your understanding. So select a person who has no idea, and he says better select an 8-year-old kid, right? And then explain the same which you have mastered or which you have learned to him in simple words possible. And as I mentioned previously, the ultimate test of your understanding depends on your ability to transmit things to others in a simplified manner. In fact, we applied the same technique in our college, and more than 90% of our students have done extremely well using the same technique. So this shows how effective and how relevant this technique is in order to master or learn any subject in the deepest level possible in quickest time. Right, so this is all about Feynman's technique. So Richard Feynman has given this technique, who is a physicist as well as Nobel Prize winner, who is considered to be very popular among his circles. And I hope this Feynman's technique, on applying Feynman's technique, you would master any subject at ease and would eventually achieve success. All the best. Love you all.